Welcome to Middlesex Moments, the radio show from Middlesex Community College. I'm Steve Minkler, your host for these programs, which come to you from the radio studios in our Center for New Media here at the college's main campus in Middletown. And actually I have a full studio here with me today with some guests who are here to talk about the Legislative Internship program, which is run at the state capitol. And with me today is Tad Lincoln, who's a professor of political science and economics, Lisa Roy, who is the Legislative Internship program director, and Jess Aceta, who's a student at the college. Welcome, all three of you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being with us. So, Lisa, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about what the program is and how long it's been in existence and kind of what the intention of the program is all about.
Great. Thank you so much. Our program has been, I believe, since 1969 we've been operating, and it's had quite an evolution over the years. It started out as an opportunity for students to sort of get the behind-the-scenes, hands-on experience and knowledge of how a bill becomes a law, how legislation is made in the state, while at the same time giving our legislature the opportunity to have some assistance and new ideas and input and energy from the students across the state. What we have done since then is sort of create a program where we make it a little bit more customizable. A lot of people, when first hearing about the program, assume it's just for political science students or it's about campaigns and elections, and it's not in either case of those things. What we try to do is find students that have a genuine curiosity in how legislation's made, how a bill becomes a law, how policy is developed, and more so, how to affect that process. Who are the players? Who actually is involved in that process? How do I affect it? How can I affect it for my interest area? Or how can I teach others to affect that process for my clients, for my customers, for my family, et cetera, et cetera. So we've created a sort of an opportunity and an encouragement for students to take the time there to expose themselves to all the different ways they could apply whatever their interest area is, and Jess can talk about hers with public health, how they can look at that through the perspective of state government, not just in our building, not just specific to the legislature, because you're going to get that in your placement in your legislator's office. But let's look at the agencies. What roles do the agencies play in public health, is as again using our example, but it could be applicable to anything: education, public safety, environment, business. And we go further. How about let's look a little in the federal government. What's that interaction with the state? Let's look at the advocacy agencies and the support groups that are out there, and the different public and private conglomerates that participate in the process in my interest area. And we hope that not only are you looking into it, but you're making contacts, you're learning how to network, and you're developing a good understanding of what you might think your next step should be.
Yeah, and it sounds like a great exposure to the fact that state government is part of a web of whole things. You've got the individual legislator that a student is attached to, but also the legislature itself as an organization and all the different areas of the state and how that all interacts with each other.
Absolutely. Our legislators who participate in the program understand that their role is to be a mentor as much as it is to have this great support, the office support that they get. Our students come up and become staffers in their office. But they know through the mentorship component that they need to encourage them to look outward, to use the time they have there to really do that exploration and personal goal fulfillment.
And is this program available to students at any college or university in the state of Connecticut?
Yes, absolutely. We operate everywhere. In fact, this is stop number, I think, 6 of my 30 stop trip this session, which is great. But we do operate out of every college and university. And in fact, students who are Connecticut residents but may go out of state are also able to participate. So it is a fairly competitive program in the sense that there's no minimum or maximum for any school or college or university. But we really are looking for sort of that curiosity, that passion. And in fact, not to toot her horn, but that's one of the things that attracted us so much about Jess as an applicant when she applied.
Oh, great. Well, after the break, we're going to talk a little more with Jess about her experience as an intern at the state capitol. You're listening to Middlesex Moments, coming to you from Middlesex Community College. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Middlesex Moments, coming to you from Middlesex Community College. I'm Steve Minkler. Again, with me today is Tad Lincoln, a professor of political science and economics here at the college, Lisa Roy, director of the Legislative Internship program at the state capitol, and Jess Aceta, who's a student here at Middlesex. And, I think since all three of you are in the room, I think let's kind of open this up a little bit and talk, as we said before the break, Lisa, you were saying that this program isn't really just for political science majors. So how did we connect that philosophy with Jess and your interest and Tad sort of as the mentor here at the college? I mean, Lisa, how did this get started?
Well, I might hand that over to Tad because he is the on-campus advisor for the program. So he does a lot of scouting, and people visit him to talk about the ways they can apply this internship. So maybe,
Sure.
Tad, you can introduce that.
Sure. I mean, we get students, just about every major at the college has produced an intern. I've been doing this for almost 10 years. We get quite a large number of interns from our college. We've had as many as 8 get into the program, which is quite unusual for a relatively small community college like Middlesex Community College. Jess is a perfect example of someone with a major that is not one that a typical intern has. She's a nursing major, and yet she had a passion for going up to the Capitol and learning how things work. And interestingly, she ended up being paired with Representative Prasad Srinivasan, and had an incredible experience. And maybe you could talk a little bit about that, Jess.
As a nursing major, when you look at the internship, you might not think that there's a lot to do. Why would someone in nursing want to go to politics? And I was really interested in how the whole policy works, because I know guidelines and certain practices are all dictated by state guidelines. And I was really interested in how far that could really go. And I was so fortunate to be paired actually with Prasad Srinivasan. He's a medical doctor in Glastonbury. Being a nursing student, I got to learn so much more than just public policy, but everything on public health and everything that goes into it, the education behind it and the insurance policies behind it. I got to see the firsthand, behind the scenes, really how everything comes together. And it gave me such a bigger and broader understanding for how everything works. And I'm so fortunate for this experience. Mm-hmm. And I actually even passed the internship, all these connections into networks, as Lisa had said. I got to keep these networks and these connections, and I still work alongside Prasad Srinivasan, and I work alongside other legislators who have pretty much taught me invaluable experiences you cannot find anywhere else, especially in our major.
Sure. Well, what kinds of projects were you involved in? Can you give us a couple of examples of how you learned more about the whole public health policy and how that works at the state of Connecticut level?
Sure. So there was, at one point, the Narcan bill came up, and that was something I was interested in. I had just started my career in emergency services, and Narcan is supposed to be a drug reversal medication. And the Public Health Committee really didn't have much information on that. So as an intern, not only did I do information for that and look it up, but I was actually able to speak to a multitude of legislators on the Public Health Committee. And that was me as a freshman in college. Mm-hmm. Not really much more compared to these legislators, all this background. And I got to talk on a bill that was actually put into effect and is used today on information that I had, and they proposed it not only on the floor of their public health meeting, and then on the floor in the Senate, and the representative floor, the House floor, and so much more, and got to watch the language of the bill begin, and everything that went into it, all the information, the research, the people it affected, and it was just a bigger, broader understanding of how everything worked, and how all these legislators kind of came together, and it wasn't just making laws, it was making a policy that would affect everybody else for a greater good, and it was amazing to see.
Yeah. And how do you think they responded to you as a student and as an intern being able to provide them with all this information?
It was a very positive experience. It wasn't like I was a student. It wasn't like I was just an intern. I was a respected partner coming to the table, and it was amazing to be able to sit there with these other legislators who I held in such high respect and have them acknowledge me in the same respect that I was, and have them listen to what I was saying and acknowledge me as if I was one of them, and be treated that way is an incredible experience.
We really need the diversity, and I try to stress that when I speak to classes. We have a variety of committees that touch upon the multitude of things that we legislate as a state. So our legislators really appreciate when they have students come to them with different backgrounds, whether it be finance, whether it be public health, education, where their interest areas are. They're staffers in those offices, and when they can contribute in in a variety of ways, not just political science, but from backgrounds and interest areas and knowledge based, that is the best case scenario. So I try to stress the need for diversity in our applicants.
I would think it could also be helpful to a member of the General Assembly who may not be on a specific committee, but their intern might have some expertise in another area of policy that the legislator needs to come up to speed on so they can vote appropriately. I think that
absolutely. Our interns interact with, and they're encouraged to interact with everybody they possibly can. Every new hand you shake and person you meet is a new opportunity, not just for yourself, but for them to get that information, have the information exchange. But also for the students, part of what we discuss with them all the time is sort of thinking outside the box. You go up there with a certain idea of what you might want to be or might want to do, but we want them to get a fuller 360-degree view of the world and what's being discussed up there in the world of the legislature. So it's great the more they can interact with people and they find new paths they never realized that they were interested in pursuing in the first place.
Okay. Now, Ted, as professor at the college and the person who's our key contact point for the Legislative Internship program, have students brought back to you experiences similar to Jess's? And is there sort of a theme that you might see where a student who might not have known much about this, just how eye-opening this can be for them? Has that been?
Okay, well, I'll say first, I mean, Jess is a somewhat extraordinary case because she's still in very close contact with her legislator, and her legislator is running for governor, and she's working with that legislator to help him get reelected. That's somewhat unusual.
Mm-hmm.
A typical intern at least has the opportunity to have a wonderful letter of recommendation from their intern, maybe from that legislator's legislative assistant to say, you know, this person, you know, works hard, is a wonderful person, and that in itself can help any former intern get a better job, maybe a higher paying job, knowing that that connection exists. But I've had so many different kinds of interns, and I had one, an intern, I think it was before your time as director of the program, but you may have been there. She was an Israeli student here, and her legislator was working on something that had to do with Israel. And of course she was, well, she's fluent in English, but fluent in Hebrew, and knew the territory, had grown up in Israel. And so she became very good friends with her legislator. But there's a lot of variety up there. Some legislators do a lot of work from home or from their office, and some interns actually don't see their legislators a lot, and they work very closely with their legislative aide. So we don't promise that an intern is going to develop a relationship like Jess or this other student that I'm talking about. Sometimes that happens, but I can say that from the experiences that have been shared with me from interns, they all say that it's an incredible experience and something that's different from anything else they've experienced before, and is often life-changing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Many of our students come to us without having had any previous experience in a professional office environment. So for a lot of them, you know, the first thing they'll say is, well, this was sort of eye-opening, you know, and not only do they gain the understanding of office dynamics, even just something as simple as getting up every day, getting dressed, driving into Hartford, working your 8-hour day, and then learning how to balance classes around that. I've had students that have gotten a lot out of that because it gave them the ability to develop skills they wouldn't otherwise have had. At a minimum, the experience is going to be helpful for them, again, building their skill level, but also it's resume building. Now you can put on your resume that you have this professional office experience. We do train our students in how to do research, so that's a skill you leave with regardless of if you have to use it during your time there or not. We also provide access to all Microsoft Office Suite training programs, so a lot of our students really take advantage of that. They come out with the skills and things, tangible skills they can put on their resume for their next step. And we've found that the students have appreciated that. That's another sort of evolution of the program over the years, is incorporating more of that real professional development along with the experience and insight aspect. We also even offer a resume and interview course, not a course, but our professional development instructor for our staff offers this to our interns so that they can literally leave with a resume in hand to hand out before they walk out of the building.
Okay.
And I can add a little bit to this too, because we've talked about the intern and the legislator that they're working with, but a lot of times our interns are able to work with other legislators. Every morning they are able to they call it the bulletin.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to get a little bulletin to see all the committee meetings and other various kinds of meetings that are going on that day. And frequently there might be some meeting that has, that their legislator has nothing to do with. And I've never heard of one of our interns who went to their LA or their legislator and said, may I participate in this? May I attend to this? Or may I even go out and be a part of this demonstration? And I've never heard of I've never heard of an intern tell me that their legislator said, no, we've got something else we need you to do, because they want these interns to learn. They want them to enjoy their time.
Mm-hmm.
They want them to come out of this experience having been a part of many different things going
The
on.
legislators that participate in our program have to understand that they're mentors. It's a mentorship program as much as anything. So yes, they will encourage this student to get involved.
Okay. And do you provide any guidance to the legislators about how to be an effective mentor, or is it kind of just up to them?
Well, we do, and in a variety of ways. There's a whole committee. There's a legislative committee that oversees the program. So they work a lot internally in each caucus to make sure that the legislators understand sort of the responsibilities and the care and feeding of our interns throughout the session. But I'm there all year round. Well, not all year round, during the program year, and I am there daily interacting with both the students and the legislators and staff to make sure that everything is working for everybody. We don't expect our interns to come in on day one and be experts in everything. So along with the oversight component, we do training, and if there's an issue or something that needs to be addressed in terms of getting them the skills they need to be successful in that position, we will try to address it right then and there.
So we'll learn a little bit more about the Legislative Internship Program after the break. You're listening to Middlesex Moments from Middlesex Community College. Welcome back to Middlesex Moments from Middlesex Community College. Steve Minkler here with Tad Lincoln, Lisa Roy, and Jess Aceto, and we're talking about the Legislative Internship Program at the state capitol. And Jess, you're a student who had been a legislative intern, but you're also the Student Senate President here at the college. That's great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And in your experience, in terms of what your major is, you're a nursing major and having to work in different organizations, how does the legislative internship program stack up to you?
I think in terms of leadership and seeing how there's different leading styles and different ways that procedures were handled at the Capitol and the official state of how everything was run, it is definitely taken me to new opportunities and new ways of handling different situations, and in running for presidency of the Student Senate and holding meetings and other stuff that needs to be done for the campus, and even as a state as a whole for the Board of Regents for all colleges and serving on that board. It's definitely taken a new leadership role and an idea of how everything works and changed my view of how things go, and it's something I appreciate.
Has it changed your view on your own career trajectory? Is this going to influence what you might want to do with your career in the future?
It definitely has. I'm still going to school to be a nurse. That's my ultimate goal, is to be a pediatric endocrinologist, but I would love to run for office one day. I think it'd be a great opportunity, and I would love to do what my legislator does now. I think he's incredible, and everything he's done, as well as all these other legislators have done, is something I would aspire to do.
Okay. Well, and you were already successful in your first run for office here at Middlesex.
Thank you.
So you have that experience under your belt. Tad, how does a student express some interest in a program like this? You're the liaison between Middlesex Community College and Lisa and her office at the state capitol. If a Middlesex student's interested in this, how do they go about learning more and applying for the program?
Absolutely. Well, they contacted me, Tad Lincoln, at the college. I probably shouldn't list all my contact information here, but they can certainly find my name at the website, Tad Lincoln.
www.mxcc.edu, right?
Okay.
So that's how
Absolutely.
they get to the college's website.
Absolutely. And they can find me and express their interest. There's an application they'll need to fill out online, but they should talk with me first before they do that. And they're going to need some letters of recommendation, a resume and a letter, and a few other little things. But the first thing is to talk to me. And if I feel like they have a good chance of getting into the program and that they will be a good intern, then I will do everything I can to help them be a successful applicant. But they have to get past me first. So no student if you're worried about putting forth a lot of effort and then not getting into the program, I would say, well, all you have to do is come and talk to me. And if I think you're going to be a good candidate, then your chances of getting into the program are superb, because I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you get in.
Okay.
So,
If I can speak on Tad's behalf really fast, is that when I was actually applying to this program as a freshman, I literally had just started here that September when all the flyers went up, and I was very excited for the program. I realized I didn't meet any of the requirements. I had no GPA because I don't have any college credits at that point. I just had graduated from high school, and Tad worked with me the entire step of the way, and he introduced me to Lisa within my first couple of weeks of trying this whole program, and between the two of them, I probably would not be here where I am today if it weren't for all their hard work and their effort to really get me to where I was. So if there's any doubt that you might think you can't get into the program, always talk to Tad first, because he will find a way to help you out and make you get to that point.
Okay. And like we talked about earlier, you don't have to worry about, if you're a student, really being a political science wonk or something like that. It really is open to anybody from any major.
Absolutely. And we encourage anybody who's interested, reach out to Tad. You could reach out to me. We operate out of every college and university in the state, and we take students from all of them. So you could check out our website as well, cga.ct.gov, and look for the internship committee to contact any of us, as I was saying, either Tad or myself, to talk about, if you have an interest, is this the program for you? Both of us are going to be very candid with you. We're not going to suggest it if we don't think you're going to benefit from it. So even if here's a curiosity, reach out. You may be surprised where it leads you.
I have to think, I don't want to go too far down this road, but I would think in today's sort of polarized political climate where, issues seem to be either one side or the other, I think this is a great opportunity to expose interns to the fact that there are shades of gray in governance, and that it's not as simple as what we see presented in the news, for example. And Jess, I don't know if you experienced any of that when you were an intern.
Well, I know that when you go and you apply for the program, they ask for your political standing. I personally am a Republican, and I know I was assigned with a representative who's Republican, and despite having interns on both sides of the aisle in both the House and the Senate, there still was a gray area where everyone would meet to do the best they can to benefit the state as a whole. So it wasn't, this is Democrat, this is Republican, there always was that gray area somewhere that there could always be, we kind of called it, there was no other side of the aisle, is that when you're sitting on the House floor, you're an entire House working together. When you're sitting on the Senate floor, you're an entire Senate working together. That this is the gray area where you come together and do the best you can for the state of Connecticut. That was pretty amazing to see, especially, as you said, the polarized position right now of our politics. It's good to see that there still is that gray area where the best for the most amount of people is what comes into play.
Yeah, some students, especially those who are not affiliated with a party, get nervous by the concept of going to the Capitol and your place with a caucus. So what does that mean? But the reality is the policy is what the program's about. This isn't campaigns and elections. None of that happens up at the Capitol. It's not part of what you're going to do on a daily basis. But it is about the policy-making process. It's a law-making process. It's assisting the constituents, the people of the state, to participate and be informed and understand and interact with that process. And that's why it doesn't matter what your party registration is or if you're registered with a party, other than obviously for placement purposes. We use that as a tool, but it's not going to bump you in any way. It's not the be-all and end-all of our processes.
Right. And Jess, earlier you talked about you helped a lot with doing some research on the Narcan bill, as you described, but did you do any direct service with constituents?
I did. So my legislator had all of Glastonbury, and believe me, it is a very, very big town, and he had so many constituents calling and leaving letters and coming to meet with him, and for pretty much every meeting that he had was always an open-door meeting for his intern. That was me. And I'd sit in on his meetings, I'd talk to his constituents, I'd leave phone calls, I would go into Glastonbury with him and go meet personally with constituents. He would hold a town hall style meeting every Monday to go talk with constituents at the library. And he'd invite me along to come and just get a chance to see all the people he helped serve. And it's really incredible because you're not just behind a computer, you're not just stuck in a library, you're out there, literally on the ground talking to people and making a difference and being a part of what your legislator really does. And that's incredible.
And it sounds like you got a little taste of what it might be like for yourself to run for office, like you were saying. That's
I did. My representative actually ran again for another session, and he did win, and now he's running for governor. So I'm very, very proud to be supporting my legislator, and I can't wait to see how far he goes.
Right, great. So Lisa, kind of from here forward, do you see any kind of future direction for this program, or any changes that might be occurring?
Well, I think we're really getting a handle on the professional development aspect of it, and the students are responding to it so well. This is going to be my 4th year with the program as director, and when I came in, I really came in with the priority of a program that was sort of a choose your own adventure that appealed to the variety of students that we had so that we really could tap into that variety. And that's where, we've talked a lot about you don't have to be a political science major. And I was a political science major, so certainly I am in no way trying to turn political science major away. You will love it, and law is always a big supporter of our program. But just with any great result, the the uniqueness of those who participate in the process is what makes the program strong. It makes any product strong. And so that's why we're going to continue to look for diversity in our students that apply. We're going to continue to try to give them the tools they need. We talked a little about training, about how you will learn to research. We provide a variety of training programs to make sure that the students have the skills they need to support the offices that they're placed. And we're going to continue with that outward exposure element where we're trying to help the students tap into their interest areas, to really take advantage of the opportunities that might be available to them and think creatively about those opportunities, because we're finding that that's really, a lot of students are coming through the college process with an idea that they'd like to work in education, or they'd like to work in public health or the environment, but they're not exactly sure what that will be. So what better place to research that and to really feel it and touch it and see it than at the Capitol. They'll literally come to you, no matter what your industry, people in that industry or government or private, whatever it might be, are going to walk through our building during any given session, because they're going to be there to try to affect the legislation that's happening. So they'll come to you. You just have to be willing and open and available to connect with them.
Great. Well, I think that's a great note to end on, as we've explored the Legislative Internship Program run by the State Capitol and the Connecticut General Assembly. So I want to thank my guests today, Lisa Roy, who's the Program Director for the Legislative Internship Program, Jess Aceta, who's a student at the college, a former intern, and now President of the Student Senate here in Middlesex, and Tad Lincoln, Professor of Political Science and Economics and the liaison for our program.
Thank you.
And for our listeners, if you're a Middlesex student who is interested in the Legislative Internship Program, visit the website at mxcc.edu and do a little search either for Legislative Internship or for Professor Tad Lincoln to get his contact information to learn more about the program. We do have a deadline coming up of October 20th, and we hope you take advantage of that. And for all of our listeners, we always invite you to visit us at Middlesex Community College here in Middletown, 100 Training Hill Road, our new location in the city of Meriden at Platt High School for afternoon and evening courses, and certainly our online campus, which is open 24/7 at mxcc.edu. So until next time, this is Steve Minkler from Middlesex Community College and Middlesex Moments. See you soon.